not lulling us all over to sleep. And I need to say that much louder because I'm afraid I'm going to fall asleep this afternoon itself. Thanks to the organizers at TiE for inviting me over. It's always a pleasure to come back to Hubli. This is the place I was born. I spent the first couple of years, and when people say, where do you grow up, I say Idga Madan, because my grandfather's car mechanic shop was right opposite, called Modern Motors. So I grew up there, and then of course I've been a Bangalorean. So I never missed an opportunity to come here and interact with folks here. What I do in the next 8-10 minutes is just to put some themes and thoughts in your minds about the questions that will follow, and all of us are discussing that this has to be as interactive as possible. One, to, of course, avoid anybody else who will go off to sleep, so we will try and keep everyone awake, but also a lot of insights and experiences can be drawn out, not from us on the panel, but also there's a wealth of experience lying that's here in the audience, and I think there'll be a wonderful sharing of experiences. So what I'll do over the next 10 minutes is kind of share some stories, some insights on, if I look back over the last 12 years of Meritrack, what were two or three of the key stories that are still fresh in my mind, that I think that, you know what, that's made a difference to me as an entrepreneur. From building Meritrack as an organization, and also I think philosophies that I carry very close to my heart as an entrepreneur. So 12 years ago is 2000 August is when I started off Meritrack, and I still remember sitting, that was my first experience with TiE as well. I still remember sitting in a TiE conference in Bangalore. Of course, the entrepreneur community in Bangalore at that time was much smaller. I'm wondering, you know what, how I wish I could do something on my own, right? And I was working with BFL software in Japan. I had come down to Bangalore for a couple of months on a project. And prior to that, I worked for 2 years with Infosys, and prior to that with Wipro. Very brief stints. For 2000, I thought that if I miss this opportunity, I'm never going to be an entrepreneur again. So with absolutely no background whatsoever in testing, assessments, training, HR, recruitment, I was a sales guy. I was selling software projects in Japan and Korea. And trying to do that with as little as smattering of Japanese and Korean that I knew, right? But what kind of drew me to this idea was a report by NASSCOM and McKinsey in 2000, which said that I think the Indian IT industry was less than 100,000 people. The report projected that by 2010, there'll be 1 million people working in the IT industry. And that's what kind of lit a bulb, saying that, hey, if 1 million people are going to get recruited in this industry, and I had seen how my colleagues in HR in BFL, Infosys or Emphasis had really struggled to hire people, and I was saying that if 1:10 is the ratio, then 10 million people needs to be processed by the IT industry. And imagine somebody designing a selection process for 10 million people. Somebody has to run the test, somebody has to change the question papers, manage the logistics of the process, go to as many engineering colleges, and that's the opportunity that we saw. Of saying that, you know what, 10 million people to be assessed, and what if you focus just on assessments alone as an opportunity, right? So that was the seed of an idea. We then validated that, went and met with a few HR guys and said that you must be out of your mind. You know, nobody has ever told this before. Which was good news to our ears, because if nobody was thinking about it, then there's an opportunity, right? A lot of people subsequently asked me saying that, I wonder why nobody did it before, and I really think that many ideas are born out of that thought of why isn't anybody doing this before, it seems so simple, right? So that's how we got started, and 2000, I think the running model for entrepreneurs was, and everybody that I knew was either writing a business plan, or talking to VCs, raising money, right? And the model was, you know what, just write the business plan, take it to a VC, he'll give you $1 million, then you can all start, right? So in our minds, we're saying, okay, let's put a business plan together. So 2 of my colleagues, 3 of us co-founded it. Another person is a person called Murli, who was with 3M, and my classmate from SPG and Mohan. 3 of us kind of got together to start this off. We wrote a business plan, and here's the first story, right? So the point was, we were saying, you know what, it's simple, push it to 5-6 VCs, 2 guys will like it, You do a bidding war against them and say, who's giving me a better valuation, and take it. So this was in July, June, July. Around the time the dot-com bubble in the US had just started blowing up, right? It was starting to crack. VCs looked at us and said, two, three questions. One, what do you guys know about testing? None of us had any background, right? We said the only thing we know about testing is that, we know we don't know anything, right? So that was one. Secondly, we were not a dot-com, right? We were a brick and mortar knowledge services business. So people said, where's the dot-com, right? And we didn't have that in our model, rightfully so, because we thought that that's not going to last long, but that was the flavor of the season. So we were thrown out of the door. Third was, we were an India-based business. We said our markets is India, which is not music to the ears of VCs in 2000. They said, unless your model is dollar revenues, India cost, you're not going to fly, right? We were neither that. But there was a more fundamental thing, and this happened when we went to meet one very well-known HR head who had gone on to become a venture capital. And when we got this meeting, I was thinking, man, this is it. You know what? This guy understands the space. He has money. And if you make the right pitch, we'll get the money from him. So I remember going to his office in Jayanagar, and three of us sitting in front of him. We had a borrowed laptops. We opened that and started the presentation. And this guy, after 10 minutes of the presentation, said, stop. I said, okay, how many of you are in it full time? Right? Each of us looking at each other saying, what a stupid question. I mean, if we were in it full time, why would I be sitting with you asking for money? Right? You give us the money, we'll quit our jobs and go full time into it. I've never seen anybody get so angry. He threw our papers down, he said, get out of my room. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're not entrepreneurs. You're all con artists. Here you are trying to ask me for $1 million. But here you are, on the other hand, where you don't want to quit your paltry paying 3-4 lakh jobs because you don't want to take the risk, right? He says it doesn't add up. Unless and until you guys commit yourself to the venture, quit, go get your first customer, then we will talk, right? So he says, don't waste my time, don't waste yours, get lost. We were shocked, and we come out saying, you know what, this guy has lost his marbles. How can he say this? But 5 minutes later, we're saying, you know what, if I was in this position, I would have said the same thing, right? And it's stupid, because if you don't commit yourself to anything that you're doing, it's never going to work, right? That night, I sat in and typed a resignation letter saying, this is one-way street. You can't have the best of both worlds. You have to commit yourself to the grind. You got to stick your neck out. Even if it means getting chopped off, that's the risk that you have to take. And only then can you inspire confidence in anybody else. So my first question that I ask anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur is, when are you going to get into it full time? If you're not, great, entrepreneurial thinking is good. You can do all the intellectual ideation that you want, but the rubber meets the road when you quit and commit yourself full time to the venture. I've rarely seen a lot of entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs say, I do it on the side. I've rarely seen anybody succeeding on the side. Right? It is on the road that you make a success. So that's kind of every time I think about it, that's the story that comes back to my mind. Second point that I want to share, and this is again a very interesting insight. So we started off. So I quit, got Melitrack started. We got our first client as Wipro. It was fantastic. We delivered well, really struggled hard. We got a good reference customer. And when we started still looking for money because we needed the money, and of course we had got off the high horse of saying we need $1 million, we thought let's get started with some 75-80 lakhs that should get us going. And the dot-com bust had really come through, and somebody told us that, you know what, forget the VCs, there are a breed, and which is now quite a rage. Then it was very nascent, called angel investors. Go talk to individual investors who can put in money, and go talk to chartered accountants who knows angel investors. So there we went. And we finally found somebody in Shimoga who is a coffee planter, an agriculturist who was growing Areca nut coffee. And because of one success story, there was Siddharth who came from Shimoga, invested, started GIV and then Global Ventures and then with Mindtree. So everybody was fired up in Shimoga. We found our person, Mr. Raghunath, who came in and said, I'm willing to invest. There's enough of money that